broadcast is live.
Okay, we're live. I would like to welcome my guests, Malcolm and Minister Angela Hope. And I'd like to thank you so much for joining me. We have a wonderful topic tonight, and it's the blessing of a healthy marriage. I would
Yes.
like to say to those viewing, if you would like to comment or if you'd like to ask a question, feel free to do so. So, welcome once again to another episode of Heart to Heart with Bree. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves to the viewers?
Good evening. My name is Malkin. Middle initial E is an Earl. Last name is Hope, but my friends call me Mike.
Okay.
And it's something that my grandmother bestowed upon me. She named me Malkin. And after birth certificate, everyone I know, my friends, my family, my pets, everybody calls me Mike. So I'm retired Navy. I spent 3.5 years with the Marines. I love being retired, although I worked after the military. I retired from a second job, but I'm just enjoying life right now with my best friend, my sweetie pie, and just having a good time. Thank you for having us, Bree.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest tonight. And Hope, would you like to, Angela, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I would. Thank you so much, Bree, for having us this evening, this Sunday evening, this lovely Sunday evening here in Charlotte, North Carolina. My name is Angela. I am the proud wife of Malcolm Hope. I am a best-selling author, a life coach, a wedding officiant, a grandmother of 9 grandchildren. And the Lord is just doing great things. I am a minister with I Believe God Ministry. I'm just doing some amazing things, watching a ministry just grow from the ground up and sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ, which is our first and foremost mission. So I'm just glad to be here to talk about marriage. And I never thought we would be here doing this. Did you?
But hey,
Well,
we're here.
We're
it's
here. So thank you.
this is a topic that's very important to me. I'm divorced, but I was actually married for almost 25 years. And I was
Yeah.
married to a Marine. I was a
Hoorah.
military wife for a long time. So,
So
uh,
you know, girl.
yes, 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 that was my life for a long time. But,
Wow.
it's like I had a lot of misconceptions about marriage.
Hmm.
And I think back to like my grandparents, the way their marriage was. And then my parents, they got divorced. So I've been studying the Bible a lot lately, and I've been doing a lot of reading, and I've been really working on myself, and I see the world in a whole new way. I see relationships
Good,
in a whole new way, see myself in a totally different way.
good,
And
very
what
good.
I realize now is that when I got married, I wasn't ready. I didn't even have a clue to what I was getting myself into. So, what I'd like to ask you both is like, what should what should an individual do to be ready for marriage?
Well, I'm going to start. And thank you so much for asking. It just really depends because I believe that some men and women are groomed to find a partner depending on, the household that they came out of or the family that they came out of. Sometimes there are women who are groomed to find a man, to have a man to take care of them, who looks a certain way, who has a certain status. And so that's one thing. So if you start out like that, then or groomed like that, if your parents groomed you, perhaps that's what your mother did and that's what their mother's mother did.
Mhm.
That's one aspect. The
Yes.
second, so being ready to be married, that's just kind of, I don't want to say it's artificial, but it's like what you do to get married. And then
Yes.
there's some of us who just fall in love, feel good. It just feels good dating. I love you. You love me. You know, we can't keep our hands off of each other, be it if you met the person at work or at church or in the grocery store, and you find that there's some type of chemistry, sometimes infatuation, and we don't find out that
Yes.
until later. And you miss all of the things that you really should know about, am I ready or being ready? So that's kind of a loaded question. But I think, like you said, the step that we miss the most is that look within first
Yes.
and take care of us, from finances to careers to learning who we are, from all of the trauma perhaps that may have happened in our life or may not have, or who were my parents and what am I supposed to do and what does God say that we're supposed to do. That's what
Yes.
really the step is for being ready. That main step that we skip that step and we go right over here and we walk down the aisle and get the picket fence, the children, and the pet. And then
Yes.
it's like, then we start figuring out, oh, what have we done?
Right.
If I may, I want to agree wholly with Angela when it comes to searching from within.
Yes.
I think you really have to know what you're about to embark upon. I mean, as a man, from my perspective, now I can't say I speak for all mankind,
Right.
but I know from myself, from my perspective, it's a matter of considering what you're getting into. This is a lifelong or a life-changing decision that you're about to make.
Yeah.
And I really feel that you have to know within yourself what you kind of want. Like she said, you got to have yourself prepared, financially, mentally. Do you feel like your job is capable of supporting you and your household? Do you understand the responsibilities that are granted for a man to be head of his household? And it's not just a matter of, oh, she's pretty and I like her.
Right.
You got to know if the elevator goes to the top.
So true. That's so true.
You really need to find out how you get along. And, I always questioned why so many ministers court someone for at least a year. And there's logic behind that, because most people that you meet are always going to show their best foot forward.
With
And
their representative.
you can be fooled by that representative.
That's true.
But after you've been with someone for a while, you kind of catch some of their behind the scenes activity. Are they really the person that they appear to be? And then it's like an interview on both parts.
Yes.
You're trying to impress this person with who you are. And I may make a suggestion: never try to be something that you're not, because that's a deceptive move and you won't be able to support it. Be you, be genuine, be true. And I've always said to my friends who are young, be brutally truthful.
That's an
Brutally.
excellent point. That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
That's definitely an excellent point. One of the questions I wish I would have asked myself is, why do you want to get married? Looking back, I think I wanted to get married for the wrong reason. I was like 27 years old. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be an old maid. That was my thinking back then.
That was instilled in women.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I looked at that age factor as a matter of concern, because I always felt like I wanted to get married in my mid-20s.
Okay.
25, 26, 27, somewhere in my mid-20s, I wanted to get married. I was hoping to find the right person at that time and have children.
And so why did you want to get married?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to be young enough to play with my children as they grew.
Yes.
I wanted to be able to walk with them through their life's education, be there at their goals and points of importance, being at your daughter's 16th birthday, her graduation,
Yeah.
going to college, walking her down the aisle, things of that sort. I knew I wanted to be young enough to do
Yes.
that with my children.
Mm.
I think that's important. I
Mhm.
definitely agree with you on that. Now, I think of marriage as a partnership. What do you guys have to say about that? And what does a marriage partnership look like?
Can I go first?
Yeah,
Okay. First of all,
you're talking tonight.
yeah. First of all, the person that you choose, for one, you want that to be your best friend.
Yes.
You want that to be someone who can understand you. You want to understand that person. I mean, life has its own hurdles and obstacles that you have to overcome, get around, and go through for that matter. But when you have a partner who is on the same page as you can, pull together and do things. Support the household, whatever it takes. Your provision is not gone to waste. You're not trying to provide for a household and somebody else is out buying shoes and pocketbooks, and you're trying to increase the income and they're just kind of like blowing it. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things you have to consider when you're choosing a partner. I like I said before, you really want to get to know your best friend.
Mhm.
If you can match or come into contact with a best friend, you have a lot less troubles when it comes to settling and making decisions as partners.
So for me, Bree, I would say partnership may be similar to Michael, but different at the same time.
Yes.
Partnership for me would be now I didn't know what even, connecting with someone and getting married and partnership was not in the equation. You didn't know. But I think partnership is someone that you want to make sure that you all have the same values. You want
Definitely.
to consider your same path, career paths, family values. Sometimes people come from different, most of the time, people come
Hmm.
from Michael and
Different
I, for an
walks of life.
example. He was raised by a single parent mother who he often says worked 3 jobs.
Hmm.
So a mother who worked 3 jobs meant that most of the time that mother wasn't in the house or at home.
Yeah.
And they had minimal things, but he's proud of that. My mother worked 3 jobs. And so
Hmm.
with that, he brings a good work ethic. On the
Yes.
other hand, I had a mother and father, and we weren't, wealthy at all, but I wanted for nothing.
Hmm.
So, you brought two people together that, I know what it's like to have to work hard for everything. And I'm over here like, oh, everything just kind of fell in place for me. So when you think, so those are the things you have to really work through at partnership. Are you planning to work for the next 40 years? Are you planning to retire? Do you see yourself wanting to travel? So that's what I would say when you talk about partnership. Are we on the same wavelength, if you will,
Yes.
for our future? Because
Yes.
sometimes we're so busy looking at the now and can't keep our hands off of each other that the partnership, like, are we really partners? Are we really made for one another? Or can we really go through the ups and downs, as Michael and I say, the thick and the thin? Sometimes it's more thin than it is thick,
Right.
or
Hmm.
more thick than thin, depending on you. So those are the things that I think that couples should focus on more now. That are we really partners?
Yeah.
Are we? And here are the things on the table that I don't think we couples have talked about in the past. It's more of, I like you, you like me, it feel good. Let's get together and let's see where this goes, until you have that first argument or disagreement, and then
Right.
that's when the path of then determining, is he a good fit for me, or am I a good fit, and what are the deal breakers for some people, you know.
Right.
Can you kind of
Right.
piggyback on that? my mom did work sometimes 3 jobs,
Okay.
but I will say my mom was somewhat stern, and she believed in family values,
Yeah.
moral respect, and she instilled that in me. I, in turn, raised my daughters the same way. My
Okay.
mom would look at me and say, "I'm going to ask you one time. You're going to tell me the truth." But there were so many things that she taught me. And
Yes.
although she was my mom, after years when I grew older, I would get her Mother's Day cards and Father's Day cards.
Yeah.
My mom taught me how to fight,
Wow.
and but the values. I mean, I had plenty of family support, and I had aunts and uncles who taught me the importance of treating girls and or women like girls and women.
Yes.
Not taking them for granted or not misusing people, and just women are not to be abused. So those kind of values are important in a relationship, and it contributes to your partnership.
Yeah, that's good.
That's really an excellent point. Well, let me ask both of you this question. If for anyone out there that's in the beginning stages of a relationship,
Hmm.
and you're thinking about marriage, wanting marriage, but you don't feel the connection and you don't feel as if you're part of a partnership, what would be your advice to both parties involved?
Personally, I would say stop looking so hard for that love connection,
Mm-hmm.
because that's probably where a lot of people fall off in the wrong direction, just constantly looking for a love connection. I tell people all the time, be friends first.
Yes.
If you can be friends, you can be honest, you can be open, you can discuss things, and you spend that first year or however long it takes for that matter to really get to know a person, and whether or not they are your friend or you're
Yeah.
their friend, because your values may not be their values.
True.
So don't go in it headstrong and, oh, I got to be in love and everything has to be perfect and whatnot. Stop trying to make things perfect. Be friends first. If you can be friends, a relationship can develop behind that.
Well, that's really a good point. That's
Mm.
really a good
And what
point.
was your question again?
Young people getting
About
married.
if you don't feel a sense of partnership, what would your advice be to both parties in the relationship if they're not feeling a sense of partnership?
Not feeling a sense of partnership,
Mhm.
Yes.
but they feel love. They feel the love, but not the partnership, or
Or, I can say, like, from my personal experience, like, your husband, when he's talking about friendship, I look back, I never felt friendship, with
mm,
my ex-husband. I honestly didn't feel any of that. So I'm looking back, hindsight is always 2020, and I
mhm,
can see why there was a failed marriage. I mean, there were other things too. But
mhm.
even before the marriage, the red flags were there. There was never that sense of, like, my own daughters even said she's never seen two people that were more like, she just didn't see the, like, where we matched
Kind of
as a
working together.
couple, and that's the daughter that we have together.
Yeah.
So she could even see it.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's like, what would you say to the, I'm looking back to, like, to the young lady that was in her 20s thinking she had to get married,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Mhm.
what would you have said to the younger version of Bree, that
So
she's not
yeah.
feeling the partnership or the
Yeah.
connection?
Okay, I want to talk some more, but
But
go
I don't
ahead.
want you to
You
talk to you.
you talk, baby. You talk.
So, from my perspective and the person that I am, I have to feel love and the goosies and I have to feel the love, and I'm stimulated by the feeling of love. So
Yes.
if I go into a relationship, if I talk about the girl myself 20 years ago or 30 years ago, immediately If I didn't feel the love, then the person was disqualified. Now, every person is different. Every person is different. I'll have to say for myself, Bree, and I say this because to your audience, because everybody can kind of feel, you have women who have daddy challenge. We always say daddy issues, daddy challenges where their first love wasn't their father.
Yes.
And as the cliche, looking for love in all the wrong places. So
So
everyone is at a different place. And for some women, if they feel any inkling of love, then that's the person. Where it may not be, because there is a desperation to
don't
feel
be
that
desperate.
that daddy love. For myself, I had plenty of daddy love. And so for the women who had the daddy love already and was very secure with who they were, marriage was not even an issue for me. I love to date. I love the idea of getting dressed and going out and having a good time. And whatever that meant then. So I never even wanted the white dress, the wedding gown, I was never that girl that wanted to go down the aisle, and I wasn't that. So everyone is very different. So I said all that to say that if you don't feel any type of connection, Michael says focus on just being a friendship, and maybe something can blossom from that. And I think that's very, very true. Because sometimes you might find that, you know what, we can do a life partnership.
Yes.
For me, I have to have that connection. And if it's not the love connection, if it's not, I don't feel like we're going in the right direction. I was that person that totally dismissed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I could address your 20-year-old Bree,
yes,
I would say, Bree, take your time. Take your time. Don't rush into anything. If I could make a long story very short,
Very short.
I'm short, but
This is real. This is live, y'all. This is how we do it.
Short.
This is her show.
It is.
But there's, you know what? There's a young lady that's probably like me now that needs to hear that point.
That's why I'm wanting to say the 20-year-old Bree, take your time. Wait.
Yes.
Don't be in a rush. Don't go, like I said before, headstrong, trying to just dive into love. The long story I want to make very short is when I had eyes for my wife, she had no idea who I was. She was not looking for a man. Men was not on her mind. But Cupid had shot me with a bazooka. So I wrote her secret admirer letters.
Mm-hmm.
And, I went so far as to send her flowers and things of that sort. I was inside out for this woman right here.
Married the stalker. I married my stalker.
Wait, it's my turn. I'm supposed to be talking. But my point is, I really pursued her. So wait for a suitor.
Yes.
Wait for somebody to come to, and then you are in a position to make the decision. Yes, you can pursue me, or I don't want nothing to do with you.
And I said no.
Yeah, but you didn't mean it.
And we're different, and we're living in a different climate now than we were 25, 26 years ago.
Yeah.
When I were dating.
I didn't want no for an answer. So I was persistent, and I begged, can we please just talk about it? Can we just just discuss it?
Married the stalker.
Be friends. And I wasn't trying to rush anything, but but at the same time, I wanted her to know, I'm after you, woman. You're the person that I want to lock it down with. So, being patient, sometimes the right person will come to you. And regardless of who comes to you, you're still in the position to say, yes, you can pursue me, or I don't want nothing to do with you. So be patient. That's my point. Be patient.
That's another great point. And this is leading to, what does it mean to be equally yoked? What does that mean? I hear that all the time, especially in church. What does it mean to be equally yoked?
Do you know how the Bible, when Jesus said, love your wife as he loved the church?
Yes.
That's meaningful. When you love your wife like yourself, you don't have to question, is she equal? I tell people, like, my wife went and looked for a car or truck not long ago. And I told the salesperson, you have to go through this to get to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a matter of honor, respect, acknowledgement that, when we're equal, it's like, my house is her house. It's not a matter of what's yours is mine and
Mm-hmm.
what's mine is mine.
Yeah.
That's not the issue. It's, we share. We
Yes.
share. There's nothing in this house, anywhere throughout this house, that my wife does not have access to.
So that's good for speaking to some people who are in a marriage and they have secrets. I'm over here. I got my own. We were taught as women,
Mm-hmm.
girl, have you some money here on the
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
All of these isms that we, keep a
It's
dollar, have this and that.
You got some money?
I would say equally yoked. Also from a spiritual perspective.
Yes.
I was taught in church that meant he had to be saved and filled with the Holy Ghost, and she had to be saved and filled with the Holy Ghost. And I'm saying that the Holy Ghost because I want to be very true and authentic of my Pentecostal background, and we're talking
Yes.
about being young women and how we grew up. And so, if you were a woman in church that was saved, and you had some little boy that you brought in or whatever, the mothers would like, well, you're not equally yoked because he's not saved, or he needs Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
or he needs to tarry,
Yeah.
or he needs to be saved.
Yeah.
We need to keep an eye on him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then unequally yoked could also mean from a different perspective, if you're a father or mother or doctors and lawyers, and they, have great expectations for you to be a doctor and a lawyer, and then you're in love with the UPS guy and you bring the UPS, from a natural perspective, that family could say they are unequally yoked because you
Mm-hmm.
come from a professional family of doctors and lawyers and things like that, and now you're bringing Jerry here, who is a UPS guy, which nothing wrong with that, but from
Right.
that family's perspective, they could see that as unequally yoked. So I guess, Bree, to answer your question, it goes back. And Joan was on your show. I'm gonna put a pin in that. Joan Randall was on your show a
Yes.
week or so ago, and she said, "My disclaimer is that I am not a specialist in
Right.
men." So we're just being authentic about who we are,
Yes.
and hoping
Exactly.
that's something that we would say would resonate with someone. So I wanted to put that disclaimer in there. So yeah, what does unequally yoked really mean, biblically or spiritually? Does it mean that if two people are not Catholic, some in the
Right.
religious arena, people say, well, he's not Catholic and he's Jewish and he's not
Mm-hmm.
Buddhist. And so people consider, well, they're unequally yoked. Or
Yes.
he's Black and she's white. We say that in our community. It's not equally yoked.
Yes.
He's Spanish and she's Italian. So that's something that we have to talk about more. What does that really mean? What does that really mean? Does it mean that we both have to be Catholic? Does it mean that we both have to be Holy Ghost filled, or it's not
Right.
going to work? Or does it mean that because I'm going to school to be a doctor and you're pursuing FedEx, does that mean that
Mhm.
we're not equally yoked? Or does that, back to your question, can we be two partners and grow that together? That if I'm the doctor and you're the UPS guy, or vice versa,
Yes.
do we still have the same values? Do we still want the same thing? Do we want children, or we don't want children? Or we see ourselves traveling, or do we see ourselves going back to school? So yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I like that question, and I don't approach a question like that cautiously,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I would say apply common sense.
Yes.
Apply common sense. I mean, you got to ask yourself, first of all, getting to know that person as your friend is a
Yes.
part of the connection. Then you got to ask yourself, does this person really make me happy? Regardless of what their job is, regardless of what their background or
Religious or
religion or all this. Well,
ethnicity.
religion is important. It's vitally important. You don't want to lock up with somebody that you're unequally
For
yoked with.
us,
Yeah,
but someone else that may.
yeah. But approaching the question with common sense.
Mhm.
Does that person make you happy? Can you live your life in the presence of that person?
So let me just pose this and I'll let her get back to asking us questions. He or she makes me happy. I strongly believe in God. I strongly believe in,
Mhm.
living for the Lord. But this guy or woman that I've met, is an atheist, so they don't believe in a higher power.
Then you're not equally yoked.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all a part of getting the friendship part, because
But they make me happy.
No, that's not happy. I mean, you know what? When I said approach with common sense, you're not just fulfilling lust.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just fulfilling lust. You're asking yourself some mature questions. When you say,
Yes.
does this person make me happy? I mean, lifelong. Is this person the kind of person that provides what you need to live your life at its best?
Yes.
Common sense, not lust. Not just make me happy because you buy me stuff or you
Yeah.
please me, or we can travel and go places, because people have money that can do those kind of things, but you mean nothing to them.
Yeah.
You really got to ask from within, and I mean seriously from within. Does this person make me happy? Not am I living happy or happy around them or happy with them. Am I happy?
We're giving you a lot, aren't we, Bree?
I am wishing I'd heard all of this years ago. So trust me, I'm enjoying this conversation. Well, I'm about to bring up one that really breaks a lot of couples apart, and it's finances.
Bring it.
Finances.
Bring it.
What is your advice to other couples out there where finances are concerned?
Money is money.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. But what you do with it, you want to be able to work together.
Yes.
I mean, bring your pots together. If finance becomes a wall between you, then that's the biggest red flag that you can even look for. Like, hey, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
Like I said before, if a provider, not necessarily me, but if a provider is trying to bring income into the house and the other person is just throwing it out the back door, that's not working together.
Yes.
So but then that's when you, in your marriage, that's when you have to sit down and have those conversations. So I would say it's like you're bringing up great examples, but how do you work through them is the question. How do we? So I would say it's very important that you sit down. I think it's part of dating. When, like we say, watch how he treats his mama, and that determines how. So it's the same thing. Sometimes, say for instance, back talking about money, how about if someone's dating you and a guy, and you want to go to a 5-star restaurant and he wants to kind of minimize that date.
McDonald's.
No, minimize that date. And you're thinking, maybe he's cheap, but he may be financially, his portfolio may be at a place that would blow your mind, because he understands we don't have to do a 5-star. Not that he wouldn't take you out, but to a 5-star. Not that you might not go out to a 5-star restaurant, but explaining through dating. Why do we always end up just going to X, Y, and Z? Well, let me explain to you that I've learned to budget my mother. My money. I once lived this way before, and I vowed that I would never be poor again. So it's very important to me that I do things, differently with my finances. These are conversations that should be had in your dating. And like you said, Bree, the mistake that we make in dating is that we're so busy, got our hands on each other and love and feeling good and dating and doing this stuff. And then we make this long life decision to get married, and we have not had a conversation about a lot of things.
So true.
And
Yeah,
I'm learning
yeah.
that as a wedding officiant, that I've put together a plug-in, a shameless plug of here
Oh,
questions.
go ahead. You're welcome to.
A shameless plug. Do you both have life insurance? Do you all both have will, trust, power of attorney? Do you both have health care proxies that if something is to happen to you or her, that someone can make decisions for your health? We didn't have those conversations when we were dating. And then you marry someone and it's like, oh, I don't need no health. I don't need no life insurance. When I'm gone, I'm gone. Well, you've already married that person now. And it's like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just say, money is a extremely important topic.
Yes.
Very much.
It too is one of those discussions that you get into during your friendship courting.
Yeah.
Okay? But now I just have to speak for myself. Like I said, I can't speak for every man.
Right.
I love buying things for my wife. I don't mind buying her suits, shoes, just accessories, things for her car. Just, like I said, we go out to restaurants. Sometimes we fought over the check. I'm paying it. No, I got it. No, this,
Yeah.
money should not be an obstacle. So financially, of course, you want security. You want stability more than anything else. You want stability.
Yes.
But I just see money's meant to be spent, and the person that I want to spend it on is sitting right here.
Yeah, but so we're not talking about us. We're talking about abroad. That's good, but we're talking about finances, and at the broader picture, because everyone comes from different walks of life.
Yes,
you may have a husband who says, I don't want you to have a separate account. We're going to have an account together. And we've been taught that if husband and wife have one account, then everything comes out of that account.
Yeah.
We have other couples who feel, I manage my account and you manage your account. And then we come together as long as everything is, covered in the household.
Yes.
That's all a part of the agreement process.
Yes.
How do you want to manage? How can you operate together? If one person feels like, I'm in control of my finances this way, and another person's in control of their finances their way, but you have different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
That conversation, that's all a part of the conversation.
Yes.
But at the same time, you can agree to have a joint account.
Yes.
And that joint account, you both feed that as needed, and you work through that. So it's all part of the thought process of what you're getting into.
So to your audience, Mike and I have a joint account. And then I have a separate account and he has a separate account.
Yes.
One, because we're individuals.
Yes.
And I always say that in a marriage, we are individuals, and we're both we both earn income. And everything does not have to be channeled or filtered through my husband. If I'm going to pick up, I'm using old school pair of stockings, or if I'm going to pick up a pair of earrings, or if he wants to pick up a pair of shoes, we always praise each other. Oh, what you got? Oh, wow, those are cute, Michael, or, oh, those are nice. But that's our relationship. But we're 25 years in, and we've had to work through. We never stumbled with money. If anything,
Mhm.
If anything, I may have made some bad choices that I may have brought him in to invest in or something, and then it didn't turn out or something. But aside from that, we never really fussed or argued over money because we had our own individual
Mhm.
lives with our money.
That's
At the same
good.
time, if my wife is traveling or is in need of urgent finances or something, there's nothing that she can't ask me for, and I'm willing
Yes.
to share it. And I feel like if I were in need, I could say, "Baby, do you have something that I could have or borrow or need or use?" And I don't think she would deny me.
Right. Goes
So
So
how
back to
so,
partnership.
yeah.
yeah,
So we're putting things on the table, but I guess it would probably need a second discussion, maybe with another couple. What's
Yes.
the next layer? Like, how does a man get to that place, or how does a woman get to that place? You
Yes.
know,
mhm,
Yes.
because again, I always say everyone comes from different walks of life.
So
Jerry
true.
might have seen his father, you know, all the mama may have never worked and daddy took every care of everything, or daddy gave everything to mama and mama took care of the household
Yes.
that I came from. My father worked and gave the money to my mother and she managed the household, and there was always food on the table. We always had
Yeah.
what we wanted, went on vacations, but that was the trust between my father.
Yes.
Again, he loved his wife, my mother, in that way, that he just went out and worked and made the money and trust my mother, and he never wanted for anything. So I think it's sometimes what we see when you ask the first question about why do we want to get married, like you
Yes.
said, because I thought, well, if you fell in love with a guy and you got the goosies with my mother and father got married, and that's what I'm
Yeah.
supposed to do, because we weren't taught.
although we're
Right.
old school, we are old school. You have to apply new age.
Yeah.
It's not
Yes.
that. It's not traditional. You just get married at a certain age nowadays. New
Yes. True.
age, new age, like I say, you take your time. You get to know the person.
Yes.
You determine whether or not this is a person for me, or if it's not, don't waste your time. Don't
Yes.
spend years dating somebody who's not going to marry you.
So true. That is very true. Well, I'm gonna move on to a topic that I think a lot of couples out there face it: blended families. Blended families. How there are situations where people get married. He came with kids, she came with kids. But there's not always a meeting of the minds when it comes to how the kids should be treated, how the families will. I mean, the Brady Bunch was one of my favorite television shows when I was a kid, but it's not always a Brady Bunch life for a lot of blended families. Do you have
Right.
any opinions on that?
Yes. You want to go first? Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, to begin with, I think coming together with a blended family, you bring your family values and morals to the relationship.
Yes.
Like I said to you before, my mom raised me, and my mom, my mom whipped me one time,
Yes.
just one time. And it's one of those things that she also taught. She taught me I could have anything in this world that I wanted,
Mm-hmm.
anything. I just had to earn it. I
Yes.
had to work for it.
So let's talk about the blended families.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, my
Okay.
my my perspective is, having children, you raise them to be honest, be truthful,
Mm-hmm.
and you teach them how to respect a dollar.
Yes.
I would spoil my daughters. I would give them everything they wanted.
Yeah.
In return, they gave me straight A's,
Uh-huh.
straight A's in school. So I felt like they deserved it. And I'm the kind of person that you can earn whatever you want. And for me, that's my background. You want it, you work for it, you earn it. Now, if someone else has a different opinion on that, that's one of those things where you have to kind of allow certain things to happen, or draw your line saying, oh, no, 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 that's not going to happen here. And all of that's a part of the process of getting to know the person that you're with.
Yes.
So for blended families, I don't know where Michael was going with that, but for blended families, I had 2 sons. My husband had 3 daughters. And I think we both in previous marriages both had children who were very respectful.
Okay.
So for us, we started there that his daughters were very respectful to him, and my sons were very respectful to me. When we made decision to get married, whether they agreed or disagreed, because when you think about 5 or 6 children, like the Brady Bunch,
Yeah.
someone's not going to like him. It's like, I've
Yeah.
been the guy in the house. I don't like him, mom. Or it may be someone say, I don't like her. I have a mother. So I would say to people who have blended families that make sure that you truly resolve the issues with your children's
Yeah.
Yes.
mother or father, that there's an
Yes.
understanding first. That, to answer your question, that's what I think is very important, because I feel sometimes with blended families that the previous relationships, somehow everybody's blended. Everybody's blended. So an example, you may have a woman who has an ex that they get along and they've done things with their children together. And now
Mhm.
I have this is not my true story, but an example, I have someone that I'm considering marrying, and that person may be a jealous type guy and doesn't understand, why does Jerry have to go every time you and your sons or daughters go
Yeah.
somewhere? And it's like, because that's what that was a pact that we agreed upon, that our children would always see us together, regardless to who came into our lives.
Yes.
So I would say that it is very important that you have unresolved issues resolved and understanding with the children.
Yeah.
Yes.
The blended children's mother or father, or your ex-wife or husband first. I think that's some of the reasons why we do have issues with blended families. And you have children who don't take it very well when the mommy and daddy are no longer together.
True. That is so true.
Whether they were married or not, it's like mommy and daddy are not together anymore, and they're dealing with their own issues. And so it's
True.
like, mommy got this man in the house, or daddy's got this woman, and it's kind of like, well, who are you? I'm over
Yeah.
here still
Right.
trying to pick myself up because my mother and father are not together.
Yes.
So what my advice would be, one, to make sure that that issues are resolved and there's understanding with the children's parents, the other parent or the other ex
Yes.
spouse. I think starting there, because
Yeah.
when you take, and I'll stop here. I think when you take and say, oh, well, we're together now, and we want everybody over here, kumbaya, and now you're having children have to now take on this relationship.
Yes.
But when those children see that there are issues that are resolved with the other parents, that the other parent says, it's okay, you have my
Yes.
permission to
Yes.
like her or like him. You have,
Mhm.
he's a good guy, he's good, I'm going to be here, or vice versa. And some children don't have that other parent at all anywhere around. And
Right.
now they've got to take on this father or take on this mother. So I think it has to start from where each person left off.
Yes. That's
in
a
order
good
to
point.
bring the blend together. That's the point I was trying to make.
That's definitely a good point. Now,
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about the importance of intimacy. And I'm talking about connecting emotionally as well as physically. Now, there are some couples, as we get older, things happen and we choose not to have dialogue about it. What would you guys like to share as far as that is concerned.
Intimacy.
Yeah, the importance of it in a relationship. And intimacy does not necessarily, because some people automatically they think about sex. But I think that it's important to connect emotionally before you can even connect physically. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
So Bree, in Mike and I, 25 years of marriage, you do have those highs and lows.
Yes.
In a marriage, it's just part of life. You know, life,
Yes.
as we say now, life be lifing.
Yeah.
So 25 years of marriage, you do have the ups and downs of sometimes health issues, sometimes financial
Yes.
issues, the blended family, sometimes, you know, taking on, one's going to school now, one's lost their job, having to, grandkids are coming. And now we were, you know, newlyweds, and now we've gotten thrust into being grandparents.
Yes.
And so things begin to happen, and I think it's very important. And I think in our marriage, we experienced the flame being,
Yes.
you know, and it felt different. It's like, you know, we had to come and say, you know what, we've disconnected somewhere.
Yeah.
And we need to conversation, as Mike says, that's when the friendship kicks in.
Yes.
Or if you're brothers and sisters in Christ, that's where that comes in. That, you know, I'm your brother in Christ, I'm your sister in Christ. I know that sounds really churchy in a marriage, but sometimes in order to make that connection, you have to look at that spouse that you
Yes.
couldn't keep your hands off of. Why now are we going through this dry place or this dry spell?
Yes.
And
Yes.
do things. Mind Your Marriage is has been developed partly because I felt that couples need to get back to having fun.
I mean,
Just a simple three-letter word, fun.
Most definitely. Carol Jackson says communication is important, which I agree. So if there's a couple out there that's starting to struggle, maybe the husband is struggling with some issues, how important is it for the couple to sit down and talk about it? Simply talk about it.
Listening to what my wife just said, I
Mhm.
would have concluded all of what she was saying in one word, and you've already said it.
Yeah.
Communication.
That was
Yes.
one of the viewers had said communication.
Communication is vitally important. And like I was saying at the beginning of the program, you have to be brutally truthful.
Yes.
Brutally truthful, because you annul any misunderstandings, and you knock down any arguments that you could probably run into if you are clear in your communication, your feelings, your thoughts, you know,
Yes.
what's valuable to you, things of that sort. So intimacy is all a part of communication,
Yes.
you know.
I would say that I know when Mike and I first started dating, you know, when you first meet someone and you're dating and you're spending hours on the phone till 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
and you're talking. We were doing a lot of, because we came from previous marriages,
Yes.
and we both had children. We spent a lot of time, sure, enjoying talking and getting to know one another, but we had some really intense conversations because we had been married before,
Yes.
and the marriages didn't work for totally different reasons.
Mhm.
And so we had conversations, communication. We had
Mhm.
conversation as to what's the deal breaker. Even before we were just starting to date, in the church, in ministry, but we had those conversations about what the bedroom would look like if we considered getting married. I mean, we were well into like 3 to 6 months into
Yeah.
a relationship, and it was appropriate to say, hey,
Yeah.
we might be going in a good direction here. Now
Yeah.
let's kind of have these conversations about the bedroom.
Yes.
because the bedroom is vitally important, and yet the bedroom is sometimes the last thing in a marriage as life be lifing.
Yep. True.
It's the first thing and sometimes the last thing, and then it has to be the first thing again. You got to
It's
get back
true.
to it again.
Yeah, I would say, in addition to that, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to discuss what you want intimately with your partner. Because some people have standards that you cannot go beyond,
Yeah.
and other people may have no standards.
Yeah,
So, it's
real talk. Hey,
you know,
I love it, Bree. Yeah.
it's one of those
No,
things,
it just,
because if you coming across somebody with no standards and you feel like, hold up, no, we ain't doing all that.
So you have to
Yeah.
have that conversation, because
That's-
that could be a deal breaker for
Yes,
someone.
very much
True.
so.
And if that's something that a person desires or need or want or whatever, or used to or accustomed to, or feel it's okay. And
Yeah,
some people, the bed is undefiled, so anything go. I'm swinging off the chandelier, whatever it is, the conversation needs to be had.
yeah. Don't put a
Right.
ring on it. Don't put a ring on it and then expect. It's like they say, you can't make a jackass a thoroughbred.
yeah.
So don't go putting a ring on it and then expecting to find your thoroughbred, because you'd have married a jackass.
Yep. Yep. That definitely makes perfect sense. Now,
Yeah.
there are times when, like, for instance, there are men who they go through erectile dysfunction, but they're embarrassed about it. I think if couples were really forthright and honest about their true feelings and had the tactful conversation without trying to hurt the other person's feelings, I think
Right.
that in this day and age, there's so much out there that can help in that
Yes,
area.
yes.
So I do think couples, I mean, we're all mature adults, should be
Yeah.
able to have these conversations.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to
Yes.
have those
And
conversations.
love making is so many other things too.
Yes.
As we say, love making starts in the kitchen,
Yeah.
or love making starts with dancing together. And you may dance and have a good time and looking into each other's eyes. And that was just so good. And go to bed and go to sleep and snore and wake up feeling refreshed because of the dance that we had. We reconnected.
Yes.
We looked into each other's eyes. We danced to that song in the living room that we used to like. Or so
Yeah.
lovemaking comes in all different forms, from some of the things we may be thinking ratchet to,
Yes.
just that reconnecting or holding hands, or things like that. It's a broad broad spectrum of what lovemaking in a marriage can really be and look
Yeah.
like.
It can be as simple as holding hands or just
Yes.
a simple kiss. I
Yes.
mean, the emotion that you put behind your actions speaks volumes.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. Well, I have two more questions for you guys.
I hope
And
this
one
has
is,
been helpful.
oh, it has been.
You-
And
you-
before I go to the next question, I definitely would like to have you guys back. Honestly, as I've been listening to you guys, I'm saying to myself, I wish I would have had this conversation years ago. Would have been very beneficial. So you guys have definitely been wonderful. And I'd like to ask you, like, how should a couple deal with conflict? It will come up from time to time. What does conflict in a healthy marriage look like?
Conflict within or conflict
Conflict
from
within
without?
like sometimes there's a disagreement. How do we handle the conflict? How do we handle disagreement respectfully?
First of all, you have to be able to agree to disagree.
Yes.
If you are able to agree that it's okay to disagree,
Yes.
then you can put your disagreements on the table and analyze them from both sides.
Definitely.
Because you as an individual will need to know your partner's perspective or how they feel about something or what they think about something before you just cast judgment and say it's my way or no way.
Yes.
You really need to put it on the table. So first of all, being able to agree to disagree, you allow yourselves to put something on the table and then analyze it from both perspectives.
And we had to grow into that. I mean,
Yes.
I would say that whoever's watching may think, oh, their relationship is unrealistic. Anything that you can think of, well, I'm not going to say anything that you can think of because that would be fighting and things like that. But a regular couple that has argued, that has not spoken to each other, have been really upset with each other, we're that normal couple.
Yes.
Been there, done that.
But because we practice, communication, and because we do have a level of respect for each other and say,
Absolutely.
let's not let this get too far, because I'm seconds from going upside your head now. You done got on my last nerve.
Yes.
I, for a woman, have learned, because I used to get really, really angry, Bree, at one time, because there was something that I was carrying about that I was blaming him for within. It's something that I wanted to do. I wanted to be in a different place. I wanted to do something very different than the life we have now. Excuse me. And I'm drinking a ginger ale, so I was holding that, and I was very angry. And because things weren't working out for me personally the way I wanted to, when we got into arguments, I was furious. This went on for a couple of years. I would just go from 0 to 10.
Yeah.
I would be very angry. And so over time, that became a turnoff to my husband. And then I was picking at everything, and I was upset. And this went on in our marriage. So on and on and on. I say that to say we're a normal couple. But because we were that friendship, had that friendship at the beginning, because he had sought me as his wife. I wasn't chasing him down. So things were in place. We did ask for forgiveness for being in previous marriages prior to our marriage and having children. We tried to do all of the right steps initially. And I would say at the first 10 or 15 years, we were really just like newlyweds for a long time before the flames started, and I don't mean like sexually in the bed. I mean like in the bedroom. I mean like, okay, this is real. We were still just that very vibrant couple for a long time. The newlywed part didn't fizzle out and the children were getting older and the grandkids were coming and things were happening, but we still had that light in our relationship. And then we hit that bump, but we had something to go back to and grab onto. And if you don't have that foundation, if it was a hot mess from the beginning, then when you get to this 10 or 15 years hot mess, you have nothing to go back to. And we were able to, So I would say to your audience, go back to what was that reason why I liked you or you liked me. Sometimes you have to go back to that. And kind of start all over. What do they say? Every 7 years? So every 7 years, 14 years, 21 years.
7-year itch.
So we're in that sweet spot because it's 25 years in. We dated for a year. And so we've gotten over that hump now. So I don't know where we're going to be at, 31, 30? I don't know, the next 7 years. But
well, earlier you mentioned fun, and the importance. I would like to talk about the importance of spending quality time together. How important is that?
Very,
very important. Very, very important. Quality time has two sides. It's like a coin. As you were just discussing about disagreements and things like that. If you're a person who can apply common knowledge, general knowledge, to your own species, you can sit back and relax. Like my wife was saying, she was frustrated about a lot of things. Me personally, I've always known women like to talk. Women love to talk. Women do some talking. Okay. Men don't. We're conquerors. We're the kind of people that, we see a problem, we address it, we fix it, it's over with. But women like to talk. And having that general knowledge that women like to express themselves,
Mhm.
whatever their emotions or feelings that they're going through at the time, it might come out raggedy. Let it.
Yeah.
Let it come out raggedy. And then afterwards, she's gonna realize what she said or what she did. She's gonna come hug you and make you feel better, and all that kind of stuff. So just be patient, be patient. It's just one of those things.
So you're saying to men to be patient?
Both people, both, not just, knowing your own character. Like men
Yeah.
don't talk. Understand that and learn how to talk. Women, on the other hand, knowing that they like to talk, you got to be patient and let them talk, let them get it out, but don't blow up over it, because that's how arguments get ugly. That's where
Yeah.
fights get into it.
Yes.
Understanding your own species. Allow the other person to be the other person. You, be cool, relax, and
Yes.
like I said, put things on the table, analyze it from both sides.
So Bree, I know you're getting ready to close.
You don't have enough time in your show.
I definitely want you guys to come back. Just let me know when you're ready to, because I would definitely like to continue this conversation. You were about to say something, Angela.
Yes, I'll say this in my closing too, this last comment that you just made. I'll give an example that exactly what he said. And he could be what Michael loves his movies, love watching TV, and the whole world has to stop when he's watching a show. So say 15 years ago, may have been the Angela that was saying, you're not paying any attention to me. You're ignoring me, right? Say 15 years later, now it's like, oh, my husband's watching his show. I know he likes to watch his show.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm saying you start learning and flowing.
Yes.
Start understanding. And not only as he watching his show, but if I come in the room for something, he might take and put the volume down on the remote. Baby, were you going to say something? Yeah, I just want to tell you, I got to. So you start coming together, as opposed to, I'm watching TV, she coming in here talking, and it's like, oh, he watching the show, to now, baby, were you going to say something? And me, oh, you're watching your show, I'll tell you afterwards.
Yes.
You see how over time we've learned to understand each other.
Yes.
So that's why
that's
why it's very important not to divorce. And I'm not saying if you have to, we both divorce, we both divorcee. So we're not sitting up here being judgmental at all. But I think it's important that you don't throw in the towel the first thing, because things, if it's meant to be and you love one another, it will come together in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed this so much. And like I said, I would love for you to come back. I would definitely like for us to continue this conversation. And, before we go off the air, would you tell the viewers about your virtual ministry?
So yes, we are starting a Mind Your Marriage ministry. We had our first Mind Your Marriage virtual date night last Friday, and we had an amazing time.
Great time.
We had an amazing time, with the couples that did show up, and it was about just having fun, laughing. I had a pianist who did a rendition of Ribbon in the Sky, and we were just all on, just like enjoying that. And it brought back, as I say, the Goosies in that time. And then we played a game called How Well Do You Know Your Spouse, was parallel to the Newlywed Game.
Okay.
So my husband asked the men 5 questions. I asked the women 5 questions, and we had a grand prize. And we did the reenactment of, if they missed the question, they hit the husband over the head, or the wife, or if they won, they kissed. So we just had a good time of just having fun. We talked about, prayer, having that prayer or connection within our marriage. We had all
Yes.
Christian couples, which it doesn't have to be, because we had it all over Facebook. So it's not necessarily, it's Christian based, but it's not to
Open to anyone.
It's open to everyone.
Okay. And when are you doing the next event?
I don't have a date, but I would say to your audience, and I would definitely let you know to look out for the next time that we will announce another virtual date night with Mind Your Marriage. And so we're excited about what God is doing with us, that we would have never thought that we would just be at a place that we're just being authentic about, about it all.
That's
we didn't
a
plan
wonderful ministry. It's a wonderful ministry. So when you're doing your next event, let me know. I'll share it on my wall. And I would definitely love to have you guys back. So just let me know when you're available and we'll do this again.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for honoring me with your being my guest tonight. And I'm just so, like I said, I really enjoyed this and I've actually learned a lot.
Great. Wonderful. We're learning a lot too.
It was a pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to say good night to you both and good night to the audience. Thank you for those who joined in.